Welcome back to Discipleship Ministries. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I'm so excited you're here. I just want to start off by saying thank you for all your continued love and support for this channel. I truly believe that we are building up a community of believers who are just so in love with God and want to spread and continue to dive into the Word of God and just to disciple in Him. That's what this channel is all about. I've got something a little bit special for you, so I threw you a little bit of a fastball last week with kind of a scriptural video where we kind of just took a break and I gave you some powerful scriptures of worship. Starting today, we are starting our series. It's a little mini series. So we're going to be telling a little bit of a Bible story. We're going to be going over books of the Bible, or stories in the Bible every so often. So they're little, kind of 3-4 part videos of just going over that book and kind of what's going on. So today we're going to be starting with the book of Joseph. Joseph and his fall into slavery and his rise to the palace and all the great things. So I think you're going to be blessed by it. And we're going to just discuss it, how, the Bible is telling us this story, because, if you've ever, read those like books that have like 3 or 4 stories in them, that's what the Bible is. It's full of amazing stories that are true and they actually happened, and people's what they dealt with and all that stuff. So we're going to be going over Joseph today. So I want to get right into it. I'm super excited about it. So I hope you are as well. I'm super excited. I even brought my Bible out. Normally I use my mobile Bible, but I found this, or I had this laying out when I was researching and doing all that for this lesson, and I said, you know what, might as well, right? So we're going to be in Genesis, and it starts in chapter 37, okay? And the cool thing is mine's got a bunch of like little side notes, and it tells me kind of what part of the Bible we're in. So we're in the part where Joseph's brother. Today we're going to be going over his relationship with his brothers. So it says, Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob's family line. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. Other version says embroidered word. This was a fancy coat. This wasn't like patches put together. This was nice fur, leather, embroidered. It's got diamonds, all that stuff on it. It's very fancy. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. I don't know about you, but I know what it's like to be the favorite child. That's why I'm repping this shirt. I knew I was reading this story and I said, hey, I am the favorite child. My mother tries to deny it in front of my siblings, but it just is. There is always a favorite child. So if you're a favorite child, go ahead and hit like on this video and, just show some love. For everybody else, just remember we're all favorites in God's eye. There is no comparison. But in our actual parents' eye, just remember there is somebody, maybe you, maybe not, I have no idea. So Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. His brothers said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream, and this time the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. I've never had a dream like that, but I tell you what, if I know me personally, if I was Joseph, I'd probably be the same. I'd be a little, a little cocky, right? So he was doing that. He kind of knew what his brothers felt about him, but he's like, hey, I just had this dream where, like, I know you're, like, so much older than me, but I saw that you were, like, bowing down to me, like I ruled over you. And his brothers, can you imagine? The favorite child walks in, hey, I'm going to rule over you one day. I'll tell you a funny story. My little sister, she is just the greatest thing. God's greatest gift. I say that with pure love, but she tells me all the time, how she's going to make millions and all that, and I'm just looking at her like, oh, that's so great for you. Secretly, I want to punch her, but I can't do that because I'm a Christian and I have a good heart, and you're not supposed to do that. But sometimes people be doing that. She, in that same way, can get a little bit too cocky, a little bit too, up and up, and she thinks she forgets who she's messing with, right? So kind of in that sense, that's what Joseph was. He was like, hey, I'm having these dreams. Now, granted, I don't think Joseph was going about it in a cocky way. I believe that Joseph was saying, hey, I'm having these weird dreams. Like, I think he was kind of looking for help in a way, but his brothers took it as, but I don't know. I'm not Joseph. I'm telling you, if I was Joseph, I probably would have been a little bit cocky, right? So it says, when he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, what is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. So he kind of brought this on to, his dad, and he told his brothers and he told his dad, and his dad was like, hey, you need to, you're getting a little too out of hand, right? See, that's the part where, to me, it's like I said, I know if I got a dream like that, I'd be like, I don't know about you, but I think you might as well start right now, right? But that's not what happened. And so his father was like, hey, stop it, right? He's got a family. He's got to, keep them all in line, make sure he knows. And he's got to raise them the right way. He doesn't want to raise Joseph to be like that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go on down to verse 12. Now, my Bible says Joseph sold by his brothers, so we're getting into this kind of category right now. So it says, now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flocks near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, as you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I am going to send you to them. Very well, he replied. So he said to them, go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me. Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, what are you looking for? He replied, I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks? They have moved on from here, the man answered. I heard them say, let's go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. Now I have to say, I firmly believe that I don't have anybody who has made a plot to kill me. That's pretty serious. They hated him that much. So that's pretty insane. But I can't even imagine. Can you imagine if Joseph knew the thoughts that had to be going on, in their mind to have built up so much hate that they would say, let's just kill him. Whoa, that's crazy. So he said, here comes the dreamer. They said to each other, come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams. When Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. Let's not take his life, he said. Don't shed any blood. Throw him into the cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him. Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. So he was like, hey, why don't we not kill him, but why don't we just we can throw him in there, but let's not like kill him, But see, he was secretly like, I'll just bring him back later. Or, I'll bring him back to father, tell him he survived, whatever, right? So it is, so he was kind of Joseph's saving grace in that moment. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the ornate robe he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into the cistern. The cistern was empty, and there was no water in it. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, what will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. His brothers agreed, so when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. He went back to his brothers and said, the boy isn't there. Where can I turn now? Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in the blood. They took the ornate robe back to their father and said, we found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe. He recognized it and said, it is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on a sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. No, he said, I will continue to mourn until I join my son in the grave. So his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard.